I want to take this opportunity to discuss one of the strategies we recommend for paired citing textual evidence questions, right? So in those pairs, the first question, in this case question 40, usually asks you to make a supported inference, and then the second question, question 41, asks you to identify support for that inference. So we can try to tackle the first question head on using what we remember from the passage. Let's try that approach first, and then we'll move on to a more tactical approach. So, question 40. Let me dismiss these stars. In the passage, Burke displays the greatest respect for which of the following? Okay, let's rephrase to get better control. Who does Burke respect the most? And we could make a prediction here, but I think it'll just be faster if we go straight to the choices. So as we go through these, we just want to think about the word respect. Whom does he respect? Is it the British voting public? I don't think so. Paragraph 1 made me think that Burke isn't a fan of what the people do. When leaders want to please the public, Burke says they make bad choices. So I'm going to put a little negative, a little minus sign here. Does Burke respect British leaders of past generations? Yes, very much so. In paragraph 2, we saw that Burke was admiring how British leaders of the past preserved things and were cautious. Does Burke respect British citizens who are inspired by the French? No. In the last paragraph, Burke was saying he was really hoping that the British would not be inspired by what was going on in France, so he is not a fan of that. And finally, does Burke respect the leaders of France's former government? I don't remember Burke saying anything about this, so I would just lean away from this. I'm going to put a little minus sign here, but we really have no text evidence for it. So of those choices, the only one where Burke displays respect is choice B. I answered question 1 directly by applying this respect test and recalling what I learned from the passage. In the active reading step I did previously, where I summarized each paragraph as I read it, was really helpful to me here, as was making pluses and minuses in the margins, so I could keep a handle on how Burke was feeling about everything he mentioned. But let's say that I didn't really understand the passage very well, and that question 40 here is swimming before my eyes. So what should I do? Let's get rid of all of our plus and minus markup here. I can tell that question 40 here wants me to figure out who the author respects. So let's go through the choices in question 2 and see which one expresses respect. So I'm just going to write the word respect, question mark, here, and apply that same respect test to all of these line references in the choices for question 41. So we're looking for respect for a group, right? All the choices in question 40 are groups of people: the voting public, British leaders, British citizens, France's former leaders. So I'm going to display the passage, and I'm going to start going through these line references. And then we're just going to see, is this a group of people that Burke respects? So, choice A, lines 52 to 56, whatever to treasure. Whatever they are, I wish my countrymen rather to recommend to our neighbours the example of the British Constitution than to take models from them for the improvement of our own. In the former, they have got an invaluable treasure. Is this respect for a group of people? Well, okay, so there's respect, certainly, because we're talking about this invaluable treasure in the former. Which one was the former? The British Constitution, right? So not a group of people, but a group of laws. And that means that choice A here is no good. Next, lines 56 to 59, they are not to conduct. They are not, I think, without some causes of apprehension and complaint, but these they do not owe to their constitution, but to their own conduct. There's no obvious respect there. Okay, lines 64 to 67, our people to neither. Our people will find employment enough for a truly patriotic, free, and independent spirit in guarding what they possess from violation. I would not exclude alteration neither, blah, 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 blah. So I would paraphrase that as, let's keep what we've got safe. And that doesn't express respect for a group of people. That, again, is referring to the treasure, right? The British Constitution, which leaves us with choice D. And let's make sure what this one is. 81 to 84. Let us imitate. Let us imitate their caution if we wish to deserve their fortune or to retain their bequests. Let us add, if we please, but let us preserve what they have left. Okay, and who's the they we're talking about here? In this last section, we're talking about the example of our ancestors, so the forefathers of the British Constitution. This sounds pretty respectful to me, right? Let's imitate our forefathers if we wish to deserve their fortune. Let's do what they did. right? So let's take choice D for question 41 back to the choices for question 40. In question 40, are there any choices that sound like Britain's forefathers? And this is going to be real quick. British voting public, not a forefather. British leaders of past generations. Yep, that's a group that Burke respects. Those are British forefathers. British citizens that are inspired by the French? Nope, not a forefather. Leaders of France's former government? Forefathers perhaps, but not Britain's forefathers. So you can see that our answers are choice B for question 40 and choice D for question 41. You can see we've got two paths to success here. You can use one question to answer the other. If you knew that Burke respected Britain's forefathers, you could hunt up the evidence that supports that. And if you didn't know the answer to question 40, you could hunt for evidence of respect for a group of people in the choices for question 41. In both cases, though, we used a specific, very powerful strategy. We rephrased the first question and wrote down a simplified test next to the choices in the second question. Good luck out there. You've got this.